Hello, AACPS staff, and welcome to a Minecraft education tutorial on getting started in the MakeCode coding tools built into Minecraft. The first thing you want to do if you're going to use any coding tools is check the settings in the world that you're in to make sure that coding is turned on. So I'm going to select on settings right here in my pause window. I'm going to choose classroom. And then I'm going to make sure that Code Builder is on. And you'll see that in this world, not only is it on, it's grayed out so that I couldn't turn it off if I wanted to. Now that I've verified that it's on, I'm going to go ahead and click the arrow in the upper left to back out of the settings and then to resume my game. Now, in order to launch the coding tools, you're going to tap C as in Charlie on your keyboard. And that's going to open a window on the right-hand side of your screen with the coding tools in it. If it's the first time you've ever accessed the coding tools, you're going to have three choices. Do you want to work with MakeCode? Do you want to work with Python or Tinker? If you and your students do not have experience in writing code, I highly recommend Microsoft's MakeCode. The block coding is coding with like instructional robots or any sort of games they may have access to at home will be familiar with this format. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then it's going to launch the MakeCode option for me here. Once MakeCode loads, you'll notice you've got an area here at the top that includes your projects. If you haven't started one previously, you'll simply have the green button that says New Project so that you can start one for the first time. You'll find some tutorials on using this particular coding tool. Some examples for getting started specifically with the coding agent, how to code mobs, all kinds of different options, ways for you to get started with coding. We're going to come back up to my projects and I'm going to begin a new project here. And I typically, for the purposes of these video tutorials, just name them coding practice and then put a number at the end of it. And now I'm going to select create. And then it's going to load my coding space here. You'll see at the very top, I have two starter blocks or prompts for how I will run my code or when I will run my code. For example, the one on the left-hand side here in green says on start. And what that means is whatever blocks I place into the center of this on start, when I click the start button in the bottom right, it looks like a green play symbol. That is what will actually launch or prompt my agent to perform my code. The other option that I have is on chat command run. What that would allow me to do is build the code that I want, close out of the coding tool, go on to perform several actions in my Minecraft world if I wanted to, and only when I open the chat tool and type in the word run will it actually perform the series of steps placed into my code. So it's entirely up to you which of these two prompts or starter blocks you would like to use when building your code. I personally am fond of the on start tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on chat and I'm going to drag this over to that toolbar, that vertical menu that you see there on the left-hand side. You'll notice it goes kind of this pale pink color and the symbol of a trash can appears. And that's how we remove blocks that we don't want to use. So I'm going to drop those into the trash. And now that on chat option is gone. Coming back to that menu on the left, you'll see we have all of the different coding tools that are available in the MakeCode system here, available in these different colored menu options. For the purposes of this video and these video tutorials, I'm going to stay in the menu options agent and loops. In this video, we're simply going to get familiar with working in the coding space here. So I'm going to start with agent. And you'll see when I select on one of these menu options, it basically opens a window that entirely covers your coding area here with all of the different options that you could use to code. So for the agent, we have options like you can teleport the agent to the player, you can tell your agent to move in a certain direction and how many blocks you want it to move. You can have your agent turn. Then you get some additional options like you want it to place a block or interact, like press a button, flip a switch. You want it to destroy or mine. All of these things are here and available as blocks that you could build into your code. So we're going to start pretty simple. We're going to grab that very first option there at the top, which is agent teleport to player. This is a great way to get your agent to where you currently are. Instead of having to code it to find the door to a house, come up the stairs, turn right, enter through another doorway into whatever room you're in, you can just have your agent teleport to you. And it basically allows the agent to kind of defy all the laws of physics. It can just walk through the wall. Within a second or two, it'll be right where you are, no matter where you are in the world. So the way that you select a block is simply to click on it, and you'll see that it pops out into your workspace, and that menu of options now collapses and disappears. So right now, this block is kind of this pale brown color here, and that means this is an inactive block in my code. If I were to click start, nothing would happen because I don't have any active code currently built. However, if I drag this into my on start prompt, you'll see it turns red. It takes on the same color as the menu option that we pulled it out from. And now I have active code that is ready to go. If I change my mind and I don't want to teleport my agent to me at this time, I can simply drag it right back out of the on start. It goes back to being that sort of pale brown tan color, and it's now inactive. I'm going to drag it back in, and I'm going to go ahead and click start so that you can see this particular action for the code. So as I said, within a second, there's my agent. So your agent is kind of this cute little robot guy that just follows you around in your world whenever you use that teleport prompt. And the name of your agent will always be your name in Minecraft. So in this case, brown_t, followed by agent. I'm going to reopen my coding tools. And once again, if I no longer need to teleport him to me because I've got him in the place that I want, I can drag this out. And let's go back and look at some of the additional options for our agent. I'm going to pull out a couple of things here. I'm going to grab the move forward. I'm going to grab the turn left. And I'm going to show you how you can build multiple blocks into that start. So when we drag move forward, we now have that as an active block in our code. If I bring turn left up, that is also active as well. So what we would expect if we were to click start is our agent would move one block forward and then it would turn left and stop. That's the entire code that we have. Let's talk about a couple of tips for working in the MakeCode space that will help you be successful. Each block essentially attaches to the block above it. And what that means is if I were to decide that I don't want my agent to move forward and I were to select this and drag it out, it takes the agent turn left block with it because that is attached to the block above. So if I did in fact want my agent to turn left, I would need to drag this one back up into the on start prompt. So when you are adjusting, editing, or debugging code, sometimes you will need to pull a whole series of blocks out simply to get the one that you don't want before you can drag others back in. An additional important tip for working in the MakeCode space, if I needed another command for my agent to move in a particular direction, I don't have to go back to agent to get another agent move forward. I can right click on this and I get a duplicate option. Now I can drag this up and say, well, I don't need it to move forward. I can click the drop down here next to forward. You'll see we have options like back, left, right, up, down, and we can also change the number of steps. So if I wanted my agent to move left by 10 steps, I can add that there as well. So simply right click, choose duplicate, and you get another of that particular block in order to change the direction, how far it moves, where it moves to, and so on. So let's get a few options here. And now you'll see I have 3 active blocks in my starter prompt and 2 inactive prompts. So you don't have to take every block and drag it over to the trash if you're not going to use it right now. For example, you might have your agent perform several steps before you have it teleport to the player again. And if you're going to move back and forth between some different actions and then doing something like telling your agent to teleport to where you are, it's a good idea to leave this block here in the coding workspace and just leave it as an inactive block. Then when I'm ready, I can drag these out, drag agent teleport right back in, click start, and it will perform that action. So I like to keep some extra blocks just kind of floating around in my workspace so that I can use them when I'm ready to. All right, we have a few commands here. Let's see how the agent moves. So what we should expect to find is that my agent is going to move forward by 1 block. Then it's going to move left by 10 before it turns right and stops. Let's go ahead and click start to see those actions. And that's it. So a very simple series of steps to have my agent move to where I might want it to start building or destroying. Let's go back one more time into the code to talk about a couple of additional tips. So some other tips to help you get familiar with the MakeCode space. Across the bottom here where you have your start prompt, you have undo and redo tools. You have the option to zoom out or zoom in. If a student is building a lot of code, sometimes they might like to zoom out to see more of the active code in the workspace. Moving up to the top, we have some options like if I want to return home, maybe go into one of those tutorials I pointed out, or start a whole new coding file, I can do that. If I'm ready to challenge myself and move on from block coding, MakeCode also includes options to write your own, both in JavaScript and Python, and you can choose between those with these tools here in the center top. And then finally, over here on the left-hand side, we have the option to close out of the coding window. Please be aware that if you close the coding window, it is basically the equivalent of clicking the Start tool. So if I don't want my agent to move forward, move left, and turn right, I need to drag this out of the active prompt before I click the close to close out of the coding tool. And then finally, you have a menu here that allows you to choose things like flipping the window to the other side, making it larger so that it fills the entire workspace, resetting the editor. If everything here is junk, you don't want it anymore, but you don't necessarily want to have to start a whole new coding file, you can reset the editor. And then if you decide you want to try out a different code editing tool, I prompted everyone to go to MakeCode, but if you want to try Python or Tinker, selecting on that change editor option from the menu here will allow you to choose a different one. So thank you for watching this very first tutorial on the coding tool. Check out the next one where we will go further into coding your agent.